John Lahart.
Thanks, Lascan Corla. I want to commend my colleague, Deputy Billy Kelleher, for bringing forward this bill. And Minister, you know, out there at the moment, there is a belief among the public that the state sides with insurance companies. Now, that's one argument, but this bill, I suppose, is really trying to side both with the genuine consumer, the person who is genuinely injured, and with the insurance companies against fraud. This is a practical and a long overdue piece of legislation, and it beggars belief, actually, Minister, that the government itself hasn't initiated such a piece of legislation. Almost from the first day of the Dáil, my colleague Michael McGrath, TD, highlighted the issue of spiralling insurance costs, and it still rolls on and it rolls on and it rolls on. And the government seems to be like a rabbit caught in headlights in terms of its inaction in bringing forward real and practical solutions to the problem. This bill is a real and practical solution to part of the problem. Business people have a litany of stories that they tell public representatives and examples of fraudulent claims. And often these claims have been left until the latest possible moment after the actual legal deadline window is about to expire. And the cost to business people, and then obviously passed on to the consumer, is profound, with insurance premiums rising exponentially and dramatically, scandalously high insurance premia as a result of this, and in part because of the cost of litigating claims. And if we cast our mind back to March 2013, Minister, it was a date actually featured in an article penned by Peter Murtagh of the Irish Times, and he penned that article 3 years later in March 2016, because that's the length of time it took for the case to be prosecuted and arrive in court. It was a pretty surgical and forensic article entitled "Anatomy of a Scam." It's a story of exactly of a scam, and when the defence was forced by the weight of evidence to actually abandon its case and to withdraw it. And even the judge, Judge Lenan, commented at the time, "It is very clear this was a setup." Now, what was scandalous about that is that there wasn't anybody waiting at the end, at the back of the court. There wasn't whether it was a member of the forces of law and law enforcement to actually take some of these defendants by handcuff away, having clearly committed a fraud on court or attempted to commit a fraud on court. So what happened subsequently to that was that it wasn't the state, it wasn't the government that stepped in. Even though, you know, there appeared to be sufficient legal backup to enable them to do it. But it was one of the insurance companies who went to the Gardaí and said, actually, we want to prosecute this. And that was actually in May 2016. So the state took no action against this scam. The government took no action against this scam, just as the government's response to rising insurance costs for individuals, businesses, sports clubs, charities has been appalling. The government has yet to establish a national claims information database. The government has yet to tackle insurance fraud. The government has yet to establish an anti-fraud unit in An Garda Síochána, and all the while businesses, taxi drivers, charities, organisations, individuals face spiralling motor costs. Deputy Kelleher mentioned young drivers. And I'll finish on this point, drivers with older cars and older drivers have been essentially put off the road by rising cost of motor insurance. So this is this side of the House, Fianna Fáil's response to this. It's not our only response. There's been 2 or 3 other measures that we've brought in. This is a very practical measure to ensure that those who have proven to have brought fraudulent cases, that files on those individuals will be passed directly to the DPP. And if this is passed, it is a good day's work on the part of this House. Thanks, Lascan Corla.